NASA's first crewed moon mission in more than 50 years has been delayed until March at the earliest. During a routine dress rehearsal of the launch, persistent liquid hydrogen leaks were discovered in the Artemis II rocket. NASA was hoping to launch the rocket as early as Sunday, carrying a crew of 4 astronauts around the moon in preparation for a scheduled 2028 moon landing. CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood joins us now. So walk us through the issues discovered here. Are these common and can they be fixed?
Well, first of all, I think describing a fueling test when you're pumping 750,000 gallons of these super cold propellants into a rocket, that's far from routine. You know, they've done it before, but it's not routine. It's almost experimental at this stage. But the problem they had was right where the big 8-inch fuel line comes into the base of the rocket, they were detecting some hydrogen leakage in a connector. That happened twice. They managed to control that. They got the rocket fully fueled, but at the very end of the countdown, when they went to pressurize that tank, it went out of limits again and they had to call it off. So as a result, they're going to have to make repairs. They pushed that moonshot from February to a March launch period, assuming they can get it fixed.
What conditions are needed?
Well, it's very difficult to do this. You know, hydrogen is the lightest element on the periodic table, and it leaks through just about anything.
Wow.
You know, and the problem is that when you repair a hydrogen leak, the only way you can really test it is to run those super cold fuels through it, just as it'll see on launch day. And the only way you can do that is to have the rocket on the launch pad and run those propellants through the system. That is not a trivial task. And so, you know, fixing it and then confirming it is a very big deal indeed.
How do they pick these windows for potential launches?
Well, in this case, it has to do with A, the power of the rocket, B, the position of the Earth and Moon, which are in constant motion. You know, they want certain illumination when the astronauts fly around the dark side of the moon, the far side, I should say, so they'll be able to see things no human eyes have ever seen before. But to get all that timing right, as well as the initial trajectory of the rocket in case there's a problem, there's just a few days each month you can do that. And it turns out in March, there's going to be about 6 days, I think, where they'll be able to launch. And if they don't make that, they'll go to a similar period in April.
So give me your kind of 30,000 foot read on this because of how hard this is to do. I mean, were you surprised with this setback?
Yes and no. You know, when they launched this rocket for the first time back in 2022, they ran into multiple problems with fuel leaks. I think they had to do a fueling test countdown rehearsal 4 times before that rocket finally took off. So I think, you know, that's always in the back of our minds. Well, would they have the same problem? On the other hand, they made lots of upgrades and improvements since that first flight. And so there was some thought that, well, it ought to go well this time because they know what went wrong the first time, they've addressed it. But clearly, this is a more difficult problem with this particular rocket's design than perhaps they initially thought.
Okay, Bill Harwood, keep us posted. Thanks.